Good.
You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, BigBeat. How are you doing, Quasar Markets Live? Hope everybody's having a great day. What's going on, sir?
Look, another day, another dollar, another interesting point of where we are. Nothing has moved. The market, yesterday, sell-offs were hitting the markets as we talked about, but I said, stick to your guns. Don't move. Don't do anything. There's no reason to trade yesterday because we still don't have clarity, right? Scott Bessent and Carolyn Levitt now are on CNBC. I don't know what's going on there. I think they need a new communications director out of the White House. I've said this several times. I think it's going to be almost the point we don't even know what's happening anymore, right? And I think it's so bad that I think they're having to go out ahead of this, right? They say that there's like 17 trading partners that are doing a deal. The markets don't agree with it. Here's why I'm saying this, right? Howard, look at oil today, right? Oil futures now $61 a barrel. They're not saying recession anymore. They're saying what Jamie Dimon is saying. Jamie Dimon said it yesterday that recession is the top of this. Not that's the best case scenario. That's his quote word. Recession is best case scenario. That's a problem, Howard.
Yeah, without a doubt. Earnings does have a lot of things moving, though, up and down here, Steve. So even with all of this angst over the market, we're seeing some really good movers to the up, movers to the downside. So I'm more interested in earnings than talking about the same tariff crap that isn't moving at all. Like you said, what I would say is I lost more respect for Bessent again this morning. It's been the third time he's been on TV in the last 2 weeks where he really has show me nothing. Show me absolutely.
He is the adult in the room, and we should think of that he would get this, right?
And he's using the same rhetoric. Yeah, what he's doing is he's just backing the lies, because here's where it is. They basically called them out specifically. China has said that they are not having tariff discussions with you. You say across all parts of government that's happening. Oh, well, we're having discussions. We always have discussions, right? Nothing's happening on the tariff front,
right? And I think a lot of people don't need to understand that we're not complaining about the administration, right? We're just calling them out, right? We're calling them out and saying, look, if you're going to say this, say it and explain to us what it is that you're saying, right? Because we don't.
And that's what he's sort of doing right now, but it's moving in the wrong way, so to speak. If you know what I mean, he's now sort of backing up what everybody knew. There obviously wasn't huge discussions on tariffs. What there was, a guy at the Chinese embassy talking to a guy at the U.S. embassy, and they go, man, we really got to get some stuff moving. Yeah, we got to get some stuff moving. Tariff talks
I think you and I know how Washington works, right? And how it doesn't work.
And that's what we've been saying for a while, right? We need to see things moving. And what we see is a hurry up to slow down. Is my other worry. In other words, yesterday it was Israel's coming to the table. It's going to get done. No talk today about Israel. No talk about it being done. But it's India. It's the whole. There isn't any. I want to see something finished. I don't care who it's with. I really don't. I just want a country to come up and us to say we've normalized trade relations with whomever it may be. And that's
here's the thing. You're absolutely right. I think in a lot of ways. We've heard, okay, Japan is the first country to give us a deal, right? And we're also hearing a lot that India is right behind them, right? Okay, great. That's great. That's very good stuff. But these countries aren't saying the same thing. They're saying, well, we're still talking, right?
Yeah.
Here's what, if I were to make a prediction, and I think I'm going to start to do this because I think we're starting to see this, right? Is that, deals are going to get made, but it's not going to be where we think, right? I always say it's somewhere in the middle, right? But here's the problem, that if things start to get more and more time out, pushed out another week, another month, these other countries are going to start coming together and create their own block. They'll be like, you know what? I think I'll create my own nation block.
Is, you know, the long, and that's why I need to see something move.
Right.
Because the longer that we stay in limbo, the more likely it is that other areas of the globe form, you know, super PACs, so to speak. They form these, you know, unified fronts to work together. So
and we did that. The United States did that. I remember during,
that's what we did with Mexico and
that's
Canada.
correct. I remember because I worked on that project, right? Look, we had the USMCA. We had that, right? NAFTA was the issue, right? That we said we wanted to cut deals with other countries. Clinton actually did it. Here's what's interesting. When the other countries started to work with us on tariffs, then all of a sudden we turned it around and said, you know what, we'll just create our own free trade. And we did. And it pissed off several people, including Ross Perot. Remember, he said there'd be a giant sucking sound. It never happened. In fact, the United States did do manufacturing, but back when we became the biggest software producer in the world. And it's how we, at that time, did not have a deficit. And Clinton during 97, 96, 97, 98, we had a surplus. And I think we need to take a little bit of a page out of that turn. And what happened was we became the biggest trading area of free trade through NAFTA. Now we need to make it better over time because, like every trade deal, things move and we get better products and things. You know, we find rare earths. So let's make a better deal. But we're not doing that right now. We're just throwing spaghetti against the wall, and it's not working. We now know the president did not have he didn't have a plan. We know that they're trying to. It was a screaming match. And we now know Doge has only saved 160 billion, not trillions that Elon Musk said we were going to happen. And now he's out the door, and it's now cost us more money than he's actually saved, believe it or not. So these failures are starting to add up, and it's showing in the markets now. And we need to understand that. And I'm all for America. I want us to do well. I think that you know, it's crawl, walk, run. I always say that, right? You come in with a sledgehammer politics, and it doesn't work. And now the Dixie now at 99.11. This morning, got 99.
Yeah, I mean, again, we see it overnight. Do you want to say the Nikkei was closed for a holiday in Japan, so it wasn't open. Shanghai Composite pretty flat. Hong Kong up slightly. South Korea up about 70 basis points. And Australia actually had a pretty good night, almost up a full, percentage point. So I think we're going to see a pretty muted day myself. I think we're going to tend to follow what we're seeing here. Same thing if we look overnight in the European markets or in their early morning trading, quite honestly. Stock 600, pretty flat. DAX up about a 0.5 percentage point, and that's really all from Deutsche Bank's move up. So, we are seeing that. And the same thing in the UK, it's down almost flat. And that's even after AstraZeneca's 4.4% drop on their weaker earnings than expected. So I am looking, yesterday I pretty much nailed it to the T. I said we'd be that what we finished at was almost exactly what I said on the Qs. So, I think we are in basically the same type of setup. I don't see anything. I think we're going to see good earnings, move some things up. We're going to see bad earnings, move some things down, and we can start to talk about those, which I love, and we can go from there. That's how the market's going to play out. But my thing is again, what I don't like is, I'd love to be able to say I want to take a long-term position in a laggard that dropped today where I don't think their earnings are as bad as maybe they are.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that, I think. Right, Steve?
Yeah, you're totally right. Look, when you have that's going, look, yesterday, Mark Carney and the Liberals won Canada. So
can we talk a little bit more about that? Because I read a lot on it last night. I hadn't really been, I've been watching it, but not really doing it. The right in, the conservative right had about a 20 percentage point lead.
Yeah.
Before Trump was elected.
Yeah.
And they just lost by how much last night?
A lot. So, they even lost a seat, by the way, which they didn't expect to seat up, right? And the Quebecois, that party also did not win as well. Because, this is our biggest trading partner between Mexico and Canada, right? And Mark Carney said something last night that really stuck with me. The old way of dealing with the United States is changing. It's gone. That's the old way of they are now think of us like as enemies, not allies.
Right.
That is
Yeah, they think of
absolutely
us as
fascinating.
aggressive. We have been, right? Again, he came out yesterday, Trump, I had a not laugh because it actually upsets me. We had all the talk where we don't want Putin interrupting or affecting our, elections or Z or anybody else by making comments the day of the elections. Right as numbers started running in, and they were actually running pretty well for the right side, President Trump came out with a 51st state tweet, and immediately it changed the numbers.
Yes, it did, and I think anybody that's nationalistic at all. I mean, look, even right wingers are very nationalistic, right?
Yeah.
We see that in our own country, and even they turn their vote against Trump too, as well. Look, we are Canadians, we are Canada, we love our independence, and that's what it should be. They are Canada. We're going to put troops on the border and go invade Canada? I mean, just go watch the movie Canadian Bacon, right? Look, I think in a lot of ways, hey, right? I mean, look, I get it. I understand, but we can't say things like this. You are the president of the goddamn United States. Start acting like it.
Act
Right?
like it, yeah.
And
You just nailed it. That the market would zoom if he would just act only as irrational as he acted 4 years ago. That's all I'm asking for. Can we go back to the first? Can we go back to the first Trump? That's what we need. The market.
But I think this
right
is the real one. I think this is the real one. Do you also, Howard? I think what was coming out right now, I think he was being weighted down by some of the people around him, and now he has all.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. He has his crew with him and everything else. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I do want to talk about earnings. I do want to get into some of these, Steve, because hey, first of all, they've been good overall. Some of them one of your favorites. I'm going to start off right up the bat with one of your favorite companies, Steve, RCL.
Yeah, Royal Caribbean. Yeah, okay, let's get to it. Look, the cruises.
So not only stuns Wall Street, Steve.
Didn't stun me.
No, you talked about it yesterday. Although where it did is you're getting a lot of offers still. It doesn't sound like other people are. So maybe they're looking at, what not a bad idea. Someone comes to the restaurant world, let's reward our frequent cruisers.
That's
let's
right.
Take care of the loyal people and give them great deals because
the ones who spend money. That's right.
Money. Yeah. I'm looking at this thing. I've got it all broken down for you. $4 billion in revenue, matched expectations, 271 EPS, beat the street estimate by like 20% there. Full year guidance, raised their EPS 14.55 on the low end. 14.65 was the high end. Now high end 15.55. Better than expected revenue performance. Here's the big one that Trump's helping him out with: favorable currency exchange rates.
Yeah, that's correct. So there are three things going on here. You nailed all three of them, I think. The first one is, in the past, Royal Caribbean, and I always say Royal Caribbean because the cruise ships in general, but I always like best in class. So I think RCL is best in class because they own other lines too, like Pullman, and
they have upscale of Celebrity and all those others.
Silver Seas and Celebrity, which I remember about all three. All right. So the first thing here is that in the past, because of COVID, they had to get a lot of new cruisers because there was a missing time period, right? 2 years that people said, well, even my wife was like that. I don't know about a cruise. Today, everybody wants to go on a cruise. They can't stand it, right? It's one of those things. But they had to get them on there. So what they did was they offered a bunch of people, cheaper cruises, get them in the pipeline and get them started. And then once they like it, then they're going to do it again and again. People say, well, I don't really understand cruises. They've never tried one, I promise you, right? Or if they tried one, they didn't do it the right way. Okay, I get all that. Now, when you fast forward a little bit, Royal Caribbean was ahead of the game. So they're like, our people want better and better. So they partnered with Celebrity, became, own that. Silver Seas, which is even luxurious line that they own too as well. And they said, look, okay, we own these lines, but to get our Royal Caribbean members on Celebrity and Celebrity on the Silver Seas, we need to offer them something. So they did that, right? And their loyalty program allowed them to do that too as well. So they started to create a funnel, right? So you've got to create that, get them to go on the ship.
I love that. They talk about 225 bookings remain on track with normal cancellation levels, excellent close in demand, according to the CEO. Everything I heard sounded great, Steve. I had the target of 246, as to the upside once it broke the 200-day MA. I'm still sticking it with it. That 200-day MA has been strong for them in the past. We did come below it here. This was all tariff crap. The other reason I'm a big fan too, fuel, right? You nailed it earlier. You said it earlier. Fuel's down. It's going to be down. Let's face it.
And what's even better about fuel
is fuel, right? I mean, those ships. I can only imagine, as someone who used to have a small Boston whaler and knows how much the gas was for that little thing.
I know. I just bought gas on the water over the weekend. Look, you're right. All these things, and here's what cruise lines companies do too, right? They'll buy the futures of it up so that that's why futures are perfect for cruise lines and jet companies. Airlines are next to do well too, by the way. Look, I think here's the key here. And then the third thing I think I was going to say is that once you get past the loyalty platform, is to take care of the people who actually spend money. So give them a free cruise. They're going to spend more money on the cruise.
Right. You get every upgrade there is once you're there, especially if it's free. Whereas when you gave away cruises coming out of COVID, you were giving them to people who weren't really cruisers. And
no, the other way around. When you were during COVID, people that were cruisers knew how to put the masks on and all that, and they gave away a lot of cruises. They're making more money.
They got a lot of people though, because I was getting the offers then. What I'm saying is they were broadening out and offering them to everybody.
Yeah. Get them in the pipeline. That's right. Give them that pipeline. Get them started.
It's working in their favor because now they're return cruisers, and now they say, "Hey, I want the Wi-Fi. I know I need it. I want the upgraded excursion when I'm at Kokomea or whatever those things are that you guys go to, and I want this and I want that," because now they have that reference point.
And here's another thing that they're doing well. So you're right. You said something about Trump is helping. It's correct. He's now got a list of countries that we can't go to: St. Lucia, Antigua, Barbuda, and Haiti. Right. So we talked about this yesterday, right? A little bit. Yeah. Okay, great. Guess where they're going to go to now? They're going to go to the island.
Their own island. So instead of getting a small piece of the excursion money that they get for signing somebody up to go on a glass bottom boat in Antigua,
now they get
100% of the profit from them being on a glass bottom boat at Coco, whatever.
We're hearing reports now that Scott Bessent was refusing to confirm if Trump has spoken to China's Xi Jinping, which means
I watched it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's where he backtracked very much. Well, and it's what I appreciate about him, but also what is hurting right now is honesty. He had honesty. He's not going to just perpetuate lies. He basically came out and said, the conversation that's been going on between China and the U.S. has been everyday business, not tariff business. Right. And quite frankly, the president, it hasn't happened at the level that we all know it needs to for it to move forward.
Hell, he's in Rome. Go on over to China. Go over, call up.
Once you're there, right? But do it there. Don't try to do it during the Pope's funeral. Again, as a Jewish person.
And you know what? Well, why not? I don't have a problem with it, Howard. I mean,
there's the respect to have. Go after. Just go fly everywhere. Everyone's got their private planes. You can go meet in Geneva. You enjoy it. Go to Zurich. You love Davos. You never take me, but you love it.
But look, Zelensky and Trump got together in the Vatican, inside the Holy See. Why can't they go? I have no problem with that.
That's trying to stop suffering. So I got that.
Right.
Again, some of the stuff is, from what I understand, was asked by the Vatican to please not don't overshadow the Pope's funeral with tariff talk.
Yes,
but overrule it with talk of trying to solve a war from there.
But let's fast forward.
We want to go back and forth. We want to stay with good things, or we're going to go back and forth. How do you want to play this?
Let's go with the bad things. One more bad thing, I think, and I think we can talk about good things too. Look, one more bad thing is longshoremen are quitting in California, and we're seeing shortages already packed up. I've already seen the numbers for the number of shipments from China to the United States is dropped to zero. It's negative now. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about that. I've seen it on mainstream media now today and a little bit last night.
And we talked about it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about it because I knew it from a month ago, Steve, when I told you wine companies weren't buying. They made it clear to me, importers made it clear to me that they were stopping shipments. And then from there, I heard from the food distributors, they stopped shipments, and I saw it when I went to Restaurant Depot. We call them channel checks. They're great channel checks. And, I'll bring it up. That's a perfect segue. Cisco had its earnings last night. For those that don't know, Cisco supplies more restaurants, hotels, hospitals, and other venues with food than any other company in the world. They're down about, three, I forget the percentage point. They're down about 3.79% here this morning on their earnings. Let me grab you their news here. I have it. Where is Cisco?
And Howard, we just saw where UPS says they're going to cut 20,000 jobs. I mean, that's a movement company, right? They're moving things around. We know. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not telling people to go run out and go stock up. I already did that. I did that 2 weeks ago, right? All right. UPS's CFO now says on international shipments, says we expect China to the US to decline a little less than 25%, but that's going to be offset by material improvements in China and the rest of the world to the United States. So they're already seeing those supply line problems. That's from UPS's CFO there, and who definitely understands the markets there. So, ouch.
Yep. So back to Cisco a little bit here. Cisco, they were down 3.5% year over year. So restaurant sales are down. Their adjusted EPS was flat year over year, but it was expected to be up. So they were down. Net income was down about 5.6% year over year. Just all of it was, generally negative. Their U.S. food service operations, total case volume fell 2%, which reflected lower restaurant traffic, which we've talked about in here. And they talked about weak restaurant foot traffic tied to California wildfires, poor weather nationwide, and weakening U.S. consumer confidence. They're seeing negative volume trends, and they're facing foreign currency headwinds internationally. So unlike the RCLs of the world where it's helping them, it's actually hurting Cisco as a U.S.-based company that the dollar is getting weaker, right?
Yeah. I'm going to display this banner here, I think. Oh, my goodness. Amazon will soon display the tariff costs right next to each product's price on their
website. That this morning.
Yeah. Ouch. That is really bad. And Scott, the news is coming in fast. I'm sorry about this. Howard, news is coming in pretty fast.
Absolutely.
Here. Scott Bessent now says Trump has met with domestic and foreign auto producers, wants to give automakers a pass to create jobs. Wow. They're starting to see where jobs are now being affected by the tariffs and this issue. So, maybe we are going to maybe see a little bit of this pulling back a little bit. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I saw the auto tariff thing. You couldn't make it more confusing because they're talking about rebates. So I do want to bring this up because I did mention this, that you don't get a rebate on your tariffs. They're actually talking about giving a rebate on tariffs to the car companies, but a year from now.
Oh my.
And only up to 3.5% of the total cost of a car. I went deep down the rabbit hole on this one last night, unfortunately, and it has to do with they want to make sure it's really not. So this is sort of a misnomer because they're not really getting rid of tariffs. They don't want to double tariff them. So they're saying if you're already paying tariffs on the aluminum to build the car, we're not going to charge you on the second part of it or the third part of it. You know what I mean? That when you send it to Mexico to get the steel made into the fender, we're not going to charge you there. And when it comes back in as a fender, we're not going to charge you there. Although we actually are going to charge you. And then in the next year, we're going to give you back the money.
So let's think of it. So it's most like a VAT tax, correct then?
Yeah, well, you're going to get it back on the end. Exactly. Where when you do your taxes, you tell us how much we're not going to tell you. You tell us how much you spent or on it, and then we'll tell you how much of that we're going to give back to you. So yeah, because I got excited. I saw it. I got excited.
My grandpa used to call this robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's and I will say, the auto dealers or auto companies are definitely worried beyond belief because their comments could not be more positive about the president and the fact that he's trying to learn, blah, 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 so
the White House is not a place to learn on the job. I mean, I can tell you that flat out by being there. It's not a place to learn on the job because everybody around you actually does understand. In talking about the tariffs and moving cars, Canada and Mexico are our biggest partners when it comes to building vehicles in the United States. A lot of things come from Mexico and Canada.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And think about lumber. I mean, Home Depot alone is going to really hurt. Lowe's is going to hurt. Those are U.S. companies that are going to hurt. I mean, lumber already is outrageous right now. So there's the home building.
We don't want to get it from the U.S., right? We don't want more of our forests gone. We need them. Right. You know, we already, as a very populated country, have done that. You know, VIX back up around 25.78, Steve. That's starting to worry me a little bit. It's ticked up about 2.5% this morning. Yep. Our tick is down a little bit. Advanced decline is down 262. Looks like we're going to open up down about a half a point across the board on the indices. Bitcoin was booming for a little bit back above 95. This talk has slowed this down, along with gold, which is down about 1% today. Silver moved up a little bit. I got into some fun Twitter battles yesterday with people who don't understand, who thinks that there's a shortage of silver in the world.
Okay, let's talk about silver. I think everybody wants to understand silver.
Well, it's the people that bought silver or can only afford
silver in my hand. By the way,
they were talking about how there's a supply. You know, there's going to be a huge. There's not enough to supply it there. You know, the supply.
Great. I want them to keep saying that, but it's not true. Listen,
it's not true at all.
Is Latin America. There's quite a bit of silver out there, and they can get it. And listen, if you don't go on a cruise, and you'll be hit up with every silver dealer in the world. And trust me, now what's really cool is that in the past, when the dollar was very strong against the Mexican peso, people would go down and buy silver in Mexico because you got a deal, right? And
my mother used to buy all her steel stuff, whether it was, trinkets or stuff for the kitchen or jewelry, always down in Mexico on vacation.
You can do it right now. On Quasar Markets, you can buy silver and gold through
gold, palladium, you name it.
Rhodium. I like rhodium. Yeah. Okay. So, and you know what? And I'll tell you, I'll put words in Peter's mouth. I'll tell you the same thing. Go buy coins. Don't just buy silver. But I have silver ingots as well. We're not going to run out of silver, folks. There's no way we can. There's just so much silver. But the miners can slow down the process. It's kind of like diamonds, right? The beers do the same thing, right? Where they slow down the digging of the ground of silver. But no, there's plenty of silver go around. It's whether or not, whether the paper on silver gets eaten up or not. And that's where the difference is. You can buy a lot of silver paper. What does that mean? Let's say you want to own the stocks in the companies, or you want to own the ETFs, and that's what happens, right? There's plenty of silver to go around, and we're starting to see them now. Gold commercials are now on TV. If you don't know what I mean by that, whenever you see companies putting gold commercials on TV, that's usually the top of gold price, because they want to dump now. They'll keep their mouth quiet as you accumulate, but then they'll put it out because they want to dump their gold on you. So that's a good example of when. No, but silver is being manipulated by derivatives right now pretty heavily. Right now. So I know there's not going to be a run on silver.
Right.
Yeah. Now, there was one in the 70s when, and we'll talk about that, Peter Thomas, who was a runner for the Hunt brothers. It happened back in the 70s. If you don't know the story, there were two brothers who went out and bought every piece of paper on silver there possibly was, and took delivery of silver, physical silver, to the point where it broke them and they went bankrupt over it. And we now have laws and rules.
Well, they tried to corner the market, in fact.
Tried to corner the market. That's right. Now there are rules against you can't do that anymore, and they went to jail. But if you look at it from that perspective, we're not seeing that again, right? We're not seeing this massive run. Because one of the things you talked about, Howard, is the gold silver ratio is the widest it's ever been.
Which is right? And that's where these people were starting, and that's where I was doing it. It always makes me laugh, because there's your answer. Why would you buy silver versus gold right now is because of the ratio, not because there's a shortage.
That's
I
correct.
was agreeing with the person. I just didn't. Their thesis just didn't make
sense. Wrong, right?
Yeah.
So what Howard is saying, what we're going to explain to you is there's the gold prices are
I'll
here,
pull it up.
silver prices are here, and over time they have risen like this, right? So gold's outpaced silver. Now gold's coming down, which means silver has to come up. That's why I'm saying that I still think the price is $43.
So, you can find that again on Quasar Markets using our Trading View app that's in there. And this is the gold silver ratio. So right now it takes 99 ounces of gold, 99 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. 99.2 is where it's at.
Coca-Cola CEO now says that the company does not see any supply chain disruptions to its business from trade uncertainties. Right.
Well, that's again a little deceiving because Coca-Cola, first of all, produces their stuff here in the U.S. And number two, it's not them that will run into supply chain disruption. It will be their franchisees.
Correct. That's right.
And they use a franchisee model very similar to Anheuser-Busch, where if you are the distributor in Massachusetts, Ohio, wherever you are for that, you basically are the owner of Coca-Cola in the state. You get it from Atlanta where they make the syrups. That supply chain has been disrupted a little bit. And so it's a little, again, I just try to, there's so many headlines right now that are just meant to draw you in without giving you the facts. So that's what we're trying to do for you. The franchisees are the ones that are getting hit. We saw that with McDonald's, very similar. McDonald's, because know what it is the franchisee has to worry about
the bell's about to ring, and on the podium, and I've been there. Kramer is now ringing the bell for the New York Stock Exchange.
There you go. That's a down day without a doubt. Then.
All right, opening bell coming in. World Caribbean. We are bouncing around.
To the downside, advanced decline just went down to about negative 1800, but trying to move back up. Q's, like I said, opened down exactly at a 0.5 percentage point. So right where I said it would. Dow Jones opened up slightly in the green. Let's see if it can stay there. 40,242, the number there to keep an eye on. Q's is right about that 470 level is going to be the key spot. We open the cash market up. We are moving to the upside to start off with.
Are we going to break this on 94,900 right now? Are we going to break 95.5? Because it seems like every time I get up there, there's a wall up there on Bitcoin.
There's still a wall there right now. It's still there. It's got to get eaten up. Do I think it will? Yeah. Like I said, I think we see a little bit of a pullback before we take the next leg up. And when I say that, I don't mean down. Like I said, I have wish lists at 88 right now.
Okay, there you go. You want to explain?
Q's moving to the upside here. 40.
I think it's going to be a positive day here. I think things are people feeling good. I think the shorts are getting nervous a little bit here.
For me, I think it's going to be, like I said, I think it's a wash day, and only because I think there'll be some bad earnings, some good earnings, and they're kind of going to weigh each other out.
Salad day, chop, chop, chop. I mean,
I think that I think there's going to be, I think it's a fun trading day. I think today is the day that if you get a good stock earnings report, and what I wanted to point out before was, make sure you're looking at these. PayPal was one of the biggest moves to the downside, right, on its earnings report this morning. If you look right here, I'll blow this up to a bigger part of my screen for us. This is the minute mark. At their earnings this morning, they dropped from 68.60 down to 62.27. By the time we opened, they were right back at that 67.35. You can see the irrational move to the downside. So you can find some here. Don't be a follower. Be reading those reports as they come out right away. Again, you can find them easiest on Quasar Markets Live. If you use our Quasar Institutional News, those analyst reports and earnings reports hit first right there.
That's right. And, in Disney back to $90 here a share.
Yeah, Regeneron getting hurt pretty hard here on their earnings, Steve. They had a pretty big miss last night and continuing to move to the downside.
I'll tell you some big news. Here's some big news. How about Novo Nordisk going against the grain and letting hims and hers have Wegovy? I mean, that's very interesting to me.
Yeah, I saw that today. It had hims and hers way up. And so what Steve's saying is, Novo Nordisk has the patent rights for Wegovy. And when they couldn't produce enough to supply the U.S. government, the U.S. markets, the U.S. government allows compounders to make it and sell it. So there were a bunch of companies like Hims and Hers, and almost any, if you have a compounder in your hometown, they were able to make their version of it. And all of those ran out in the last month or two because the companies are able to make them. Well, Novo Nordisk said, you know what? We're falling behind Eli Lilly and these other companies. Let's get some more supply out there. Let's flood the market, so to speak. And they're going to use them as their U.S. arms.
Well, they're doing it because they're the shots. But Eli Lilly has already passed them up by saying we got a pill. So it's tit for tat right now. And I can tell you, I'm like Gillette. I mean, I'm a user too, so I get it. 94,983 on Bitcoin. That thing is stuck in the rut. Ticks flat. 61.13 now on oil. WTI now flat too as well. Silver is pushing 33.50, but it's not. I think we'll go to 43. I still think that's the case. It may take a little longer. There we go. Nvidia now positive on the day. As the Qs are just about there. Nasdaq 100 now minus 31. I think we could see a melt up day here actually.
Yeah, these are the algos. You got to wait till 10 o'clock to see some real direction one way or the other. We've done this every morning. You get excited for that first pump, and then it sells off, and then we get upset. Don't go either. Don't get too excited. Don't get too upset.
It was whatever the big move was in the morning. It gets eaten up in the afternoon, and by the time of the day, it's flat, right?
Back flat. Yeah, that's what we've seen. That's all I'm warning of is that don't get so excited for first moves. We're seeing, some buying here, some buying there.
Ticks positive right here as the Nasdaq is trying to go positive here.
Yeah, it's pretty subdued compared to what we've seen recently.
That is true. I mean, it's all about
back positive and negative, and that advanced decline sticking right around negative 1,500. Ticks, VIX is staying right around 25.50.
But if Apple goes positive, Howard, I think you'll see a positive day. I think Apple's really kind of setting the mood here for a lot of companies.
Tick now negative a little bit. Advanced decline just past 1,500 to the downside.
The trade deficit now surged to an all-time high of 162 billion in March. Whew.
White House now blasting Amazon over reported plan to display tariff impact on the prices.
Yeah,
I mean, sounds like Mr. Bezos and Mr. Trump, or President Trump, will no longer be getting along.
Well, when you own the Washington Post, you can pretty much say what you want to say, right?
Yes, you can.
Speaking of Washington D.C., how about the Commanders moving back to D.C.? I'm glad to see that.
I love it. I can't wait. I will definitely. It's going to be an expensive ticket, but I will be there for the first game. We might have to
Let's go
together, my friend.
All right, we'll go.
That is definitely one. RFK. I mean, that place used to rock. What a place! When I first moved to DC, it was still in the last years of RFK before they built Rajan, and it was great. So I am excited for that. I think it is good for the nation's capital in general to have football back there to start off with. Tick still sort of just muted right now. I'm just seeing a muted day so far. Even the algos aren't fighting it out right now. I think they took a nap. Trying to take a look at one thing here. I was just looking through to see who still has earnings today. There doesn't seem to be a big name for me that is big enough to move the entire market yet. I know later in the week we have a lot of the Mag 7 coming up that can do that. I mean, Starbucks looks to be about the biggest company today.
Yeah, I mean, we are now seeing a little bit of selling here as
Trivago, Logitech, there's some big names out there, but they're not Seagate, Mondelez. They don't move, the Mag 7, let's face it, moves the market. That's, Snap. Snap's probably one of the biggest today.
Come on, Tick. Let's get
there.
Not a
ton is going to move it.
I really am nervous if we see oil drop below $60 a barrel again, in the 50s handles, that'll be a little nervous, because that does mean recession is right around the corner. That's usually a very bad sign.
Right, I couldn't agree more. And we are seeing, 9 of the 12 sectors of the S&P are in the red. We do see real estate holdings are the big winner so far. REITs, so we're seeing defensive moves because it's material sector, industrial sector, and real estate that are moving to the upside, although financials are pretty even on the day. I didn't see any big banks to worry about today. We know MasterCard was yesterday, had good earnings, so they had some good stuff going on. We do have some pretty good travel. We had RCL already. We do have Booking Holdings, which is not huge here in the U.S., but they are Europe's largest, vacation venue there, the way that we use Expedia.
I still think as Apple goes today, I think that's when the market's going to tell.
Yeah, we do have Visa today. I forgot about that. There we go. We have Visa today coming up still. Man, the DXY getting back down almost below 99 here, Steve.
Yeah, our dollar is becoming. I mean, you talk about inflation. There's your inflation answer, right? I mean, as the dollar continues to sell off, I wanted the dollar to pull back a little bit. I thought it was too high. Getting U.S. products.
Well,
cheaper.
I'm assuming you're saying when it was at 109, 110, not now.
Right.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Right. Like I thought you were. I just
you think about it when other countries are coming to buy our product, it's too high, right? Because it's a 10% tariff. That is your tariff, right? Now we're down below.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I tend to kind of think that we want to be more in like that 103 area that we spent most of last year at. The last couple of years is about.
You took the words out of my mouth. 103.50 is about right where I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I would say.
And the tick now took off up 160 now. We might see some more positive move here. I think we start to melt.
What we know is now the algos are going to try to trap one side because there wasn't a move. So with no move now, they've got to cause the move now, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's not enough retail money to be able to make the move.
Yeah, right. They'll look for that. If they see retail pile in one way, they'll make that into the trap.
HSBC now cutting the S&P 500 index. Their end of the year forecast now to 5,600 from 6,700. That's a big change there.
Wow.
UK Finance Minister Reeves says we will publish draft legislation today for crypto assets. Looks like they're coming around over there in the UK, huh?
Yeah, because they're playing catch up because, they were part of the EU and MiCA, and that was sort of all being done at a bigger level. And then they sort of lost their spot from there. So they're trying to catch up.
And you got to give the President Trump some props here because, we took the lead on crypto in a lot of ways here in the United States.
Absolutely. I mean, I want to point out something. I mean, XPX is trading at 55.18. So they're saying that it's actually going to be down, or let's just say flat from where it is today. Wow. I think that's the first one I've seen be flat or down for the year end. I've seen it, first half year estimates, but not there. Tick's moving up nicely here, though, now. Advanced decline coming down nicely. We're less than 1,000. We are seeing, we're not seeing a big move to the upside still. We're still in that 470. We haven't even moved a dollar up or down here from the open. We literally opened at 470.34, and we got as high as 471.20 for a quick pump, but we're not seeing any moves hold up so far.
No, it's pretty quiet. Tick slipping a bit here. Look, if you want to know what the market's doing, keep your eye on Tick. I mean, Tick's telling you everything. You can actually watch it.
Well, and like I said, and especially if you see it, because it's not doing anything because VIX is staying sideways.
Right. But you're seeing the 10-year dripping here a little bit.
I will say, though, I mean, you look at the hourly, the VIX is still melting slowly down. So we got to break through this support level that it has down to about 23.50. We can get back to that. It could come back down towards that 20 level. I'd be very happy in that 20 level. I think that that's about the new normal for the VIX.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm watching the 10-year now, 4.204. I mean, that's telling me a lot here that I need to know. And that drop there, if we drop a little bit more, that means money is flowing back into the bond market. So that is interesting. And then the 10-year. Okay, Smithfield Foods is seeing some consumers trade down to less expensive food products. That's according to the earnings call here a few minutes ago. So you heard Howard talk about it earlier that people are, it's interesting that that's the first thing that people do is when they don't buy more expensive food, they buy less expensive food. So, and the types of food that they buy, which is not healthy, right? So we understand.
Those that don't know, Smithfield is the largest pork producer in the United States. Public company now, Chinese owned, gives China one of the largest swaths of agricultural ownership in the world. In the U.S. is through Smithfield.
Apple has gone green here, as well as the Qs are just about there. Nasdaq's only down 5 points now. We're about to go green here, I think. And look at that, 109 now on NVIDIA. We've said that. I thought that was a positive here. I think we go up.
Again, I got see it make it through the hour and then do it, but it does look like it. I think we're going to end up right around that 470 level at the end of the day on the Qs. Today, I don't think there's enough there. I think the Dow has more of their component sort of that could give good earnings today. So I think you could see that move further to the upside. The tech sector really starts reporting tomorrow. Bitcoin, like you said, can't break that 95 and hold.
It really is having a struggling up there, and I think that money is moving back in the tech sector here a little bit. I really want to see NVIDIA back over 110. I think we go back on up. It really has struggled around the 110 handle. So let's see a 109 coming up here. And now the high is the day here on NVIDIA. So let's see if we can't break here. All right, yeah, the Qs continue to push here. NASDAQ is up by well, it's flat now. Dow only up 125 points, so we need to see some push here.
Qs are trying, but it's just
there you go.
The upside. It's trying to move to the upside here. It's going to have to break 472.80 here. Try and move into the upside again here, the Qs.
We need to see the VIX dropping here a little bit in order this.
It's down 25.15, so it is, we're now negative on the VIX on the day. It was up to over 2% at one point.
MRK is said to be building a $1 billion biologics manufacturing firm in Wilmington, Delaware. It's according to the Money Honey, Maria Bartiromo. Yeah, it's struggling here. Howard can't seem to do it. Rosenblatt gives a buy rating on TTD here. The price target of 77. Trade Desk. Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that one.
I like Trade Desk, but not right now. I don't think it's the right time to be doing it. Talk to me during political season when advertising is heavy. A tick down almost 200 here.
Yeah, advanced climb back down 15. I think that was the attempt. There's been some short covering, Steve, that's been causing some of this too. Let's face it. There's a lot of people that are short and they're getting nervous. So they're having to cover those positions, especially on the institutional side. We've seen a lot of talk of that. So not too surprising there. Tick back positive here, but we're still in that same zone. We don't seem to be able to break out of it. Let's see what we got. Oil
is now below 61 here, 60.90, 60.91 here now on the futures here. We got to be careful here. If we drop here again, yeah, look at the Qs taking off there. We said that. NASDAQ now up 35 points. I had a feeling that we were going to see this.
SoFi, we didn't talk about them yet, Steve. I have their stuff from their earnings report. Give me 1 second to pull that up. I'm moving up nicely here, up almost 9% on the day. So they are leading the financials back here. And SoFi, where are you? There you are. some of their info there. They added 800,000 new customers, which was a record for them in Q1 2025. Their full year adjusted net revenue grew to 3.31 billion. They gave full year adjusted EBITDA guidance that's moving to the upside again. They had estimated a high side of 865. They're now giving a low side of 875. So again, we're seeing some good, moves out of them. I got to be honest with you. I just opened a new savings account with SoFi. I had a credit card with them from a while ago, and they had one of those earn $500 for putting money into a savings account. I took advantage of it, and I've been pretty happy with them. They're pretty good, app, pretty good company. I like what they have there. So we'll see there. And their big one is loans, of course. And what they talked about is that their loan origination volumes year-over-year growth, personal loans up 69%. Students loans up 59%, and even for them, home loans up 54%. So they're gaining market share when the market is, contracting. So SoFi definitely killed it here. Like I said, I've been a fan of theirs. I personally did it. And their CEO highlighted that they have a sustainable competitive advantage and the highest lifetime value per member. So once you tend to join their world, they tend to keep you within their world because they are very good at coming at you. Like I said, I had a credit card. They came with some great offers, and I was like, you know what? Why wouldn't I put some money into a savings account there at 4% APY, as opposed to my Bank of America, which gives me almost nothing. So good earnings there has them moving nicely to the upside. One of the biggest moves to the upside today, almost 8% here. Tick nicely moving up, Steve, a little bit here. Q's about to try to go positive here. Broke through that 472.30 handle and trying to move to the upside. So we could see a squeeze to the north here. Looks like it's trying to. Rejected same spot it did earlier this morning in the pre-market trading. Let's see if it can break through it. It is trying right now. A breakthrough 473 would be very positive on the Q's here right now. SPY has gone positive, 551.20 here. And we do see the VIX dropping. So now VIX almost at that 25 level here, Steve, down, almost a half a percentage point, and a nice drop since the cash market opened. So it does so far set up, like you said, for a nice melt up day here. Dow Jones up half a percentage point already.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a good melt up day if we start to see the VIX. I really want to see the VIX back down to the 16, 17 handle. So we're still kind of a long way from it, but we're not at 60 anymore. We're not crazy. We're now hearing reports that China has waived tariff imports on U.S. ethane imports. They waived tariffs on U.S. ethane imports. Okay. Because they need ethane pretty badly over there in China. That would push the markets up a little bit as we see some thawing out, but not quite there yet. That's interesting. Any good news? Just a little bit of good news to push this market up. There's so much cash on the sidelines.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
UK's Chancellor Reeves now says that robust rules around crypto will boost the investor confidence, supporting the growth of fintech and protect people across the UK. So, okay, there you go. Welcome to the world, UK.
Yeah, we'll see. They've gone back
negative on it. Okay.
Well, because they've gone back and forth like 7 times since they've left Brexit. It's they can't keep a financial minister for more than 10 minutes.
That's true. Yes, that's correct.
So that's part of the problem. They can't seem to get out of their own way. So I don't know if they can get out of crypto's way.
We're hearing reports from Politico Europe that Britain and India are very close, or they're now closing in on a long-term deal here. This is what I meant earlier when we were talking about that.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. They'll look to Europe. Europe will look to other places. And they'll do it without the U.S. That's what worries me.
Right. Europe
has us dropping again. See, I mean, that's what I mean is it doesn't take much. And that took the tick negative. It's trying to battle that to the positive side.
Yeah.
Tried to break up, it just couldn't do it. Man, that's frustrating. And Nasdaq and Nvidia starting to lose a little bit of steam under 109 again. Apple's the big winner so far on the mag. Google going down, Amazon going down, Meta pretty flat, Tesla pretty flat too. Tesla I think started to squeeze yesterday, and Netflix at 1100. Wow, gotta love that. Bitcoin right at 94,800 again. Ethereum nicely broke through. The alts were moving nice, Steve. We're seeing a little bit of run on the alts in general, in crypto. Cardano having a pretty good day. Avalanche having a good day. I didn't check this too.
I mean, we're seeing a little bit here. The VIX still dropping a little bit. We could see a little bit more selling or buying here. How about Ethereum at 1818 here?
I just said that, Steve.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I just said Ethereum looking good, holding above 1800.
I got a lot of screens going on here.
I know. I'm just teasing you. At the 100-day point, Trump's economy on the worst trajectory of any president in modern time.
I had an old mentor say, "It's not how you start; it's how you finish." And he's got it. You know, he started terrible. We get that, but there's a good chance he could turn this around. He needs to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the opposite of what happened the first time, right? In his first, thing, markets zoomed and then disaster hit.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with COVID too. So we can't put that on him. But we can put this start on him. He has to own this. So this tick now down 100 here. It just seems still a little bit too much nervousness right now in the markets.
So Goldman Sachs has lowered its USD CAD forecast, citing resilient Canadian data, a supportive fiscal policy stance, and reduced expectations of Bank of Canada easing. While Canada's exposure to the U.S. limits CAD's outperformance on the crosses, Goldman expects CAD to outperform USD over the rest of 2025. Jeez. Huh. So they don't agree with our analyst, which is Mr. Flanagan. He's on the other side of that trade.
Amazon getting hit today on the back of that news.
Yeah. Putin thanks Kim for heroic North Korean troops that helped liberate Kursk. So now they're admitting. Wow. Tick nicely positive. Q's trying to go positive again. SPY holding up.
Bitcoin is trending here.
Yeah, Bitcoin is trying again to move up to the upside. Not seeing much though.
We're here. Yeah, this I guess this afternoon, the Israeli intelligence chief has also resigned after his meeting with Netanyahu.
Yeah, as a strong supporter of Israel, I'm having problems with all of the issues they're having right now with killing of civilians.
What do you think about Alibaba launching their own LLM there?
I don't know if I trust any of that stuff, right? I mean, I guess it goes with DeepSeek. I think it's a big deal. I do. I do think, I'd have to ask you, do you think that any of this stuff, I mean, I'm more concerned about Hawaii's chips quite
Right.
honestly, and the supposed improvement that they've made, right? Because that was
Yeah. Yeah.
the moat was the
Huawei.
chip.
Correct. Huawei seems to be a little bit having their moment as Nvidia seems to slip a bit. I don't think that's the case. I think Nvidia. I mean, go on Amazon, try to buy an Nvidia card. Go to Dell, try to buy an Nvidia card. Right? I saw them 4 and 3 and
Well,
4
but
and
we
5.
can't buy the Hawaii anyway. So you know what I mean? Is it's the same thing. If they're catching up there, that's going to be bad. You know, obviously for Nvidia and the other chip makers, if they are actually on par. I mean, when it comes to developers and programmers, I don't think that the US has an advantage. I mean, we can't stop Lazarus, right? We've been trying to stop the Lazarus group for the last 10 years, and they're not even China.
Oh, we can. We can. We just don't. I mean, you see Trump we see Trump not praising Kim Jong-il, a dictator, and not going after North Korea. Have you seen that? If you want to go after a country, go after North Korea. I mean, this country has gone after the United States. I mean, we know how to affect them. Look at Iran, right? We hit them with Stuxnet. Bam, they're done. That country was over. They lost all their ability to create nuclear energy, right? Safe energy. Yeah. You want to go after a country? Go after North Korea. Right now, I'm just not seeing anything right now. The melt
Yeah,
of
that's how I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at 7 screens, and nothing has me excited right now, or even interested in a trade one way, north or south. I'm not seeing anything that really catches me.
right.
I'm with you. That's exactly. Okta moving up today about 5.65% on an announcement that they're going to be included in the S&P mid cap. So Okta, a nuclear play, nuclear power company. Nice move up by Sherwin-Williams. They had earnings today, so they must have had an earnings beat here. They're up about 5.26%. Honeywell, another one that had strong earnings, up 4.33%. Verona Pharma, another with strong earnings, up 4.1%. Like I said, a lot of these that are moving to the upside had some really strong earnings overnight. Whether it was Altria, Verona Pharmacy, Metsera, RCL, Pony AI, Insight, Honeywell, Teradyne, all with strong earnings so far. Take a look at the laggards here. Franklin Electric, Option Here, Health, and Regeneron, the big laggards, along with NXP Semiconductors, PACCAR, bad earnings reports taking down NXP and Regeneron, excuse me. Pony AI, that was up significantly yesterday, down about 5%. I will keep in mind that for the week, they're up 128%. Notice that Hertz, Steve, has moved back down a lot after seeing that big move up after it was talked about the purchase from Pershing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree with him, right?
They're moving back to the downside.
Jolt's just coming out here. Actual is 86. We expected 87.5. So job openings, ouch. That's also wow. Yeah. Consumer confidence coming in at 86 there. We expected 88. So consumer confidence slipping even more. Previous was 92.9. That will bring in a chance for more the Fed thinking about cutting rates there. Job openings, Jolts coming in at 7.192 million. Forecast was 7.5 million. Previous was 7.56. As job openings, labor turnover surveys. So that to me also is everything we're seeing here. Howard is saying the Fed's going to have to lower rates. They're just it's getting to the point now where they can't even stop it now because they're asking for data that's beyond time. And here we are. Look, okay, wake up, Fed. It's time. You've got your data you've been asking for, and now you've got it. So yeah.
Q's getting rejected. It looks like, oh, here we go. Can we get this run through this? Come on, break through this resistance.
That's a big drop in job openings, by the way. That's a huge drop. That means the layoffs are affecting it, and people that were looking for jobs are also stopping looking for jobs too. So recession is on the way. I think people are saying that. I've said it. But I mean, if you go even deeper than that, okay. So I've got the real bigger news here with I'll pull it up here for you. All the job numbers. The quits level is at 3.32 million. Estimate is 3.15. That's higher too as well. So people are quitting. There's a lot going on here, Howard.
Yeah.
Layoffs rate is now. There we go. There's all your numbers for you right there for you. And look, the market's going up because of it, right? Because they think now the rates are going to come down. And 4.189%. Look at that.
Wow. Tickets staying positive, though. We're trying to break to the upside.
Zelensky says Russia is preparing something in Belarus this summer using military drills as an excuse. We have heard that that Russia has been adding more military bases to the border of NATO. So interesting there.
Okay, tick going nicely positive here. We're moving up nicely. Trying to get that 473 on the Qs. SPY is up. Dow Jones is up. The small caps getting hit here a little bit today with the earnings reports. Bitcoin sticking just below that 95,000 level.
Yeah, now high today here on NVIDIA.
In most sectors. There you go. There's your pump right there. There we go. Now we're moving to the upside. That's what we needed to see here.
Yeah, so right now we're hearing from market will modestly rally on rate cuts due to unemployment rising. I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, Steve, we passed the 10 o'clock hour here. I think we both feel now it looks like they want to try to melt to the upside. I'd have to agree with you here now that the algos are sort of done fighting it out, and it does look like retail is starting to push us up. I mentioned look for a little bit of short covering here today as people start to get nervous about their short positions, especially getting ahead of earnings tomorrow as we start to see some of the bigger tech names report. DXY moving back up too, so I'd like to see that. Any last words for us there, Big B?
All right. Yes, I've got one for you right now. I want everybody to listen to this. The markets have turned on these numbers, and I'm telling you right now, bad news is good news. The markets are now saying bad news is good news.
Wow. There you go. Okay. We will see you next time here on Quasar Markets Live, everybody. Be nimble out there.